is a hidden fire within you, a spark of creation that has been there since the beginning of your life, perhaps since before you even drew your first breath. It is not something that you can merely summon at will like a tool. It is a living entity inside your psyche, a force that is both wild and divine. To speak of creativity is to speak of the soul's secret yearning to become whole. I stand before you not as a mere teacher of techniques, but as one who has glimpsed the abyss of the unconscious, who has seen the archetypes rise like ancient gods from the depths of the collective mind. And I tell you this, your inner creative genius is not something you learn, it is something you remember. You have forgotten it because the world teaches you to forget, to obey, to conform. It buries the raw energy of your imagination under layers of duty, fear, and rationality. And yet, the dreamer in you still whispers in the night. When you close your eyes, you may have visions. You cannot explain images of landscapes you have never seen. Faces that belong to no one, you know. Symbols that shine with an otherworldly glow. These are not meaningless hallucinations. They are fragments of the collective unconscious trying to reach you. The painter, the poet, the visionary, they all understand this truth, that creation is not merely invention. It is an act of listening, of allowing the hidden voice of the psyche to speak through you. When you write, when you paint, when you compose, you are not creating from nothing. You are unearthing ancient patterns, giving form to truths older than your mind. The genius inside you is not an individual ego, but a channel, a bridge between what you know and what the unconscious wants to express. To ignite this genius, you must first confront your shadow. Yes, I speak of that dark and disowned part of you, the side you reject because society has told you it is ugly, dangerous, or unacceptable. But in that shadow lies the raw material of your creative energy. How many of you hide your deepest impulses? How many of you fear your own anger, your own desires, your own madness? And yet, these are not your enemies. They are the keys. The poet who writes with true passion does not deny their shadow. They dance with it. The painter who creates with fire knows that beauty is born out of chaos, that the colors on the canvas are not just pigments, but emotional storms captured in form. Your inner creative genius is waiting in that place where your fear and your fascination meet. Do not shy away. Go there. Listen, I have seen many people who believe creativity is something that belongs only to artists, musicians, or geniuses of history. They are mistaken. Creativity is life itself. To be alive is to be creative, because every day you shape the meaning of your existence. Every choice you make, every thought you entertain is an act of creation. You are the sculptor of your soul. Though you may not realize it, the unconscious is constantly trying to push through, to guide you with symbols and dreams, to show you who you are beneath the mask of the persona you wear for the world. If you ignore it, you risk living a life that is not yours, a life dictated by external expectations. But when you listen, when you surrender to the inner whisper, you begin to create not only art, but a life that is alive with meaning. Consider the dreamer who wakes in the middle of the night, trembling with the memory of a dream, so vivid it feels like a message from another realm. That dream is a gift. It is the unconscious speaking in its own language, images, metaphors, archetypes. Do not dismiss such dreams. Record them, study them, paint them if you can. They are not random. They are the language of your soul. Creativity is born in these symbols. I once said that dreams are the royal road to the unconscious, and I still believe it. If you want to ignite your inner genius, start by honoring your dreams. They will show you what your conscious mind is too blind to see. They will reveal the patterns you are living and the stories you need to tell. You may ask, but what if I have no ideas? What if I am not creative? I tell you this, you are not barren, you are blocked. The river of creativity has not dried up. It has been dammed by fear and habit. You must break the dam. You must return to the child within you, who once played without shame, who drew strange creatures in the dirt, or imagined entire worlds from a single stick or stone. The child knows what the adult has forgotten, that creativity is not about being right or perfect. It is about being alive, about touching that wild current of imagination that flows beneath the surface of reality. Do not wait for permission to create. Do not wait for the world to validate your vision. If you want to ignite your inner creative genius, you must dare to be foolish, to be raw, to be unpolished. In the beginning, creation is messy. It must be. I recall a man who once came to me tormented by the feeling that his life was meaningless. He said, I have achieved all the things society tells me I should want, yet I feel empty. I asked him about his dreams, and he told me of a recurring image, a dark forest with a fire burning in the distance, and the figure standing by the flames, beckoning him. He did not understand it, but I did. That figure was his creative self, the part of him he had abandoned in his pursuit of conventional success. I told him to draw the forest, to paint the fire, to write down what the figure whispered in his dream. At first, he resisted, saying he was not an artist. But when he finally surrendered to the image, something shifted in him. He began to create, not for money or recognition, but because his soul demanded it. And in that act of creation, his life began to take on meaning again. Creativity is the bridge between the conscious and unconscious, between the ego and the self. It is how the soul speaks in a world that often refuses to listen. When you create, you are not just making something new, you are giving shape to something eternal. The archetype of the Creator lives in all of us. It is that divine urge to bring something into existence that was not there before, to take the raw chaos of experience and shape it into a form that others can see, hear, or feel. This is why true creation always feels like a sacred act. It is not simply about skill or technique. It is about surrendering to that deeper force, about becoming a vessel through which the unconscious can manifest. Do not be afraid of the darkness you encounter in this process. Many people believe that creativity must always be joyful, but that is a lie. True creativity often begins in suffering. It begins in the cracks of the soul, in the wounds you carry, in the unspoken truths that ache to be voiced. The most profound art is not born from comfort, but from the tension between shadow and light. If you want to ignite your inner genius, you must be willing to face your wounds. They are not there to destroy you, but to teach you, to open the doorway to a deeper wisdom. Your pain holds the key to your creativity because it forces you to go beyond the surface, to find meaning in the chaos. The artist does not shy away from pain. They transform it. When I speak of transformation, I do not mean something abstract or mystical alone. I mean a psychological metamorphosis, like the alchemist turning lead into gold. Your inner creative genius is the alchemist within you. It takes the raw materials of your life, your memories, your fears, your desires, and transforms them into something that shines with the light of truth. But you must be brave enough to enter the alchemical fire. This is the fire of self-confrontation, of facing the unconscious with open eyes. Many people run from this fire because it is uncomfortable. It burns away illusions, and the ego does not like that. But if you stay in the fire, if you allow it to burn away the false layers, you will find the gold of your own authentic expression. When you stand before the blank canvas or sit with an empty page or stare into the silent space where no melody yet exists, do not fear the emptiness. This emptiness is not a void meant to swallow you, but a womb waiting to give birth. Too often we confuse silence with absence. But silence is where the unconscious begins to stir. The soul does not speak in noise. It speaks in subtle impulses, in whispers, in the sudden flash of an image or the echo of a feeling. To awaken your inner creative genius, you must learn to sit in that silence without flinching. There will be a temptation to fill it quickly with ideas, with borrowed voices, with familiar patterns that the world has already approved. Resist it. Allow the silence to become so deep that you can hear the rustling of your own psyche, the archetype shifting like ancient trees in the wind. Only then will something original emerge. Creativity is not a process of control, but of surrender. The ego loves control. It wants to shape everything, to make the unknown safe and predictable. But genius does not live in the ego. Genius belongs to the self, that deeper center of the psyche that is both you and more than you. When you create, you must be willing to let go of the ego's tight grip, to allow something greater to move through you. Have you ever noticed how the greatest ideas come not when you are forcing them, but when you are walking in the forest? When you are dreaming, when you are not trying at all. That is because the unconscious is free to surface when the ego steps aside. The creative act is not about making something happen, but about becoming a vessel, an open channel through which the eternal flow of images and symbols can pass. I often speak of archetypes because they are the keys to understanding both the psyche and creativity. The archetype of the creator, for instance, is not merely about making art. It is about shaping reality itself. It is the energy that drives the universe to evolve, that pushes the seed to break its shell and become a tree, that compels the stars to burn in the darkness. When you tap into this archetype, you are aligning yourself with something vast and timeless. But the creator archetype also has its shadow, the fear of chaos, the terror of destruction. To create something new, something inside you must die. The old self, the old patterns, so the safe ideas, these must be burned away to make room for the unknown. And this is why so many people fear their own creative genius. They fear that if they truly express themselves, they will lose the identity they have so carefully constructed. But this death is not an end. It is a transformation. It is the chrysalis breaking open so that the butterfly can emerge. Think of your dreams again, those strange, sometimes frightening visions that come to you in the night. They are not random. They are the language of the unconscious. A dream of a dark cave may not just be a cave. It may be the womb of creation, the place where your inner genius is hiding, waiting to be born. A dream of water may not just be water, it may be the flow of life, the creative current that wants to move through you. If you want to ignite your inner genius, pay attention to these symbols. They are clues, messages from the depths of your psyche. Write them down, sketch them, speak them aloud, treat them as sacred. For in these symbols lies the map to your own creative awakening. I recall a woman who once came to me, struggling with a sense of creative blockage. She was a talented writer, but for months she could not write a single line. When I asked her about her dreams, she told me of a recurring image, a bird with broken wings trapped inside a cage. I told her that this bird was her creative spirit, wounded and imprisoned by her own self-criticism and fear of failure. She cried when she heard this, for she knew it was true. I asked her to draw the bird, to paint the cage, and then to imagine opening the door. At first, she resisted her mind, told her it was silly. But when she finally did it, something shifted. Within days, she began to write again. Not because she forced herself, but because she had freed the bird within her soul. This is the power of symbols. They can unlock what the rational mind cannot. There is also the matter of the shadow, which I have mentioned but must now explore deeper. The shadow is not just the dark side of your personality. It is also the source of your untapped energy. What you repress, what you deny, what you push away because it does not fit your persona, these things hold enormous creative power. The artist who ignores their anger will never paint with fire. The writer who denies their longing will never write words that pierce the heart. To awaken your creative genius, you must be willing to face the shadow, to bring it into the light, not to destroy it, but to integrate it. Integration is the key. When you make peace with your shadow, when you allow it to speak, you reclaim the energy you once spent suppressing it, and that energy can be transformed into creation. Creativity also requires a descent. In the mythic sense, all true creation begins with a journey into the underworld. This is not merely a poetic idea, but a psychological reality. To create something authentic, you must descend into the depths of your own being, into the places that scare you, the places you have avoided. You must confront the dragons that guard the treasure of your soul. These dragons may appear as self-doubt, fear of judgment, or the voice that says, you are not good enough. But these are illusions, masks worn by the deeper truth. When you face them, when you look them in the eye, you will find that they are not as powerful as they seemed, and beyond them lies the treasure, your authentic voice, your unique vision, your inner genius. I remember my own descent, the years I spent wrestling with my unconscious, facing visions that shook me to my core. There were moments I thought I was losing my mind, moments when the images that rose from the depths were so intense, so overwhelming, that I feared I would be consumed. But I stayed with them, I wrote them down, I painted them, I gave them form, and in doing so, I discovered that the unconscious, though terrifying, is not a monster, but a wellspring of life. The visions were not trying to destroy me. They were trying to teach me, to guide me toward a deeper understanding of myself and the world. This is what creativity asks of you, to trust the process, even when it feels like chaos. Do you see now? Creativity is not about talent alone. It is about courage, the courage to face the unknown, to walk into the darkness of your own mind, to confront the archetypes and shadows that live there. Most people avoid this because it is uncomfortable. They prefer the safety of repetition, of doing what has already been done. But the true genius, the true creator, is the one who steps into the wilderness, who listens to the whispers of the unconscious, who dares to bring something new into the world, even if it terrifies them. Your inner creative genius is not timid. It is fierce, wild, like a storm that shakes the earth, but you must be willing to open yourself to it. And then there is the matter of love. Yes, love. You cannot create without love, not romantic love alone, but the deep, reverent love for life itself, for the mystery of existence. When you love something deeply, you want to give form to it, to express it, to honor it. This is why the greatest works of art are always born from love, even if they are also born from pain. Love gives you the courage to face the darkness. Love gives you the strength to keep creating, even when the world does not understand. If you want to ignite your inner genius, find what you love so deeply that you would suffer for it, and then create from that place. There is something profoundly mystical about the way creativity emerges from the depths of the unconscious. It is never a linear path, never a clean or predictable journey. It is more like wandering through a dream, where each step you take reveals a hidden corridor, a symbol, a shadow, a light flickering in the distance. You cannot plan creativity as you plan a schedule. It is not an obedient servant. It is a wild horse, and you must learn to ride it with both humility and trust. When you hold too tightly to control, the horse throws you off. When you let fear take the reins, it stops moving, But when you write with presence, when you feel its rhythm and follow its instincts, it will carry you to places you never imagined. This is why I tell you, do not fear the irrational, the unexpected, or the strange impulses that arise within you. Our modern world worships reason, logic, and order, but the soul does not speak in logic. It speaks in images, in symbols, in feelings that defy explanation. Creativity often emerges from what seems irrational, an idea that makes no sense, a vision that feels too bizarre to be real, a dream that seems absurd. But these irrational elements are often the very sparks of genius. They carry the energy of the archetypes, those primordial patterns that live in all of us. When an image comes to you that you cannot explain, do not dismiss it. Instead, follow it. Ask yourself what it wants to show you. Let it lead you deeper into the mystery. You see, the inner creative genius is not concerned with the superficial approval of others. It does not care if the world understands or accepts what you create. It cares only for truth, truth in its raw, unpolished form. This is why true creators often feel misunderstood or even alienated. They are not creating for applause. They are creating because something deep within compels them. They are birthing something that has never existed before. And that process is sacred. When you create from this place, you are not trying to impress anyone. You are simply aligning yourself with the deeper currents of your being. Let us speak of the persona, the mask you wear for the world. The persona is necessary. It allows you to function in society, to play your roles, to meet expectations. But the persona is not the whole of who you are. Behind the mask lies the self, vast and eternal. The self contains not only the light, but also the shadow. Not only reason, but also chaos. Not only the known, but the unknown. Creativity requires you to peel away the mask, at least for a while, and let the self speak. This can feel dangerous because the persona fears exposure. It wants to remain polished and acceptable, but the self is not concerned with appearances. It wants authenticity. And it is through this authenticity that true creation happens. I have seen how people try to create while still clinging to their masks, and the result is always shallow, lifeless. They may produce something technically skilled, but it lacks soul to ignite your inner genius. You must dare to be vulnerable, to let the rawness of your inner world spill out onto the canvas. The page, the music. Vulnerability is the doorway to authenticity. It is the crack through which the light of the self shines. Do not be afraid to show your wounds, your confusion, your deepest questions. These are not weaknesses. They are sources of power. When you express them honestly, you tap into the universal human experience. Others will see themselves in your creation, not because you try to please them, but because you dare to tell the truth. This is also why solitude is essential in the noise of the world. It is difficult to hear the voice of the unconscious. The world is loud with opinions, with trends, with the demands of conformity. To create, you must step away from this noise. You must find a space where you can be alone with your thoughts, your dreams, your symbols. Solitude is not loneliness. It is a sacred space where you can hear the whispers of your soul. Many fear solitude because it confronts them with their own minds. But if you learn to sit with yourself, to listen, you will find that your inner world is rich, alive, and full of creative energy. Consider the myth of the hero's journey. Every hero must leave the familiar world and enter the unknown, face trials, confront darkness, and return with a treasure. Creativity follows this same pattern. The treasure is your inner genius, but you cannot access it without first venturing into the unknown, into the depths of your unconscious. You must face the monsters that guard the treasure your fears for your doubt, your self-criticism. And you must be willing to return with something that changes you. When you create, you are on this journey. Every painting, every poem, every piece of music is a form of the treasure you bring back from the depths. In this journey, play is as important as struggle. Do not think of play as something frivolous. Play is the language of the soul, the way the unconscious experiments with possibilities. Children understand this instinctively. When a child draws a fantastical creature or invents a story, they are not trying to be correct. They are simply expressing what arises from within. They are in a state of flow, connected to the creative current. As adults, we lose this capacity because we are taught to value productivity, correctness, and seriousness. But to ignite your inner genius, you must reclaim the spirit of play. You must allow yourself to create without judgment, to experiment, to follow curiosity even when it seems silly or pointless. Out of this playfulness, the most profound ideas often emerge. I remember my own experiments with images and symbols. There were times I painted things I did not understand, shapes and figures that seemed to come from another world. At first, I questioned them. What is this? Why is it appearing? But over time, I learned not to question, but to follow. These images became the foundation of my understanding of the unconscious, the archetypes, the collective psyche. If I had dismissed them because they did not make sense, I would have lost the key to my own genius. So I tell you, trust the images that arise in you. They are not random. They are the voice of something deeper, something older than your mind. There is also the matter of ritual. Every act of creation is, in a sense, a ritual. When you sit down to create, you are entering sacred space. You are stepping out of the ordinary and into the realm of the extraordinary. This is why it is helpful to treat your creative practice as a ritual. Create a space that feels sacred to you, a place where you can focus, where you can listen, light a candle, play music, breathe deeply, do whatever helps you, enter the state where the unconscious can speak. These rituals are not about superstition. They are about preparing the psyche to enter the creative flow. They signal to your inner genius that you are ready, that you are open. There is a threshold you must cross when you truly wish to create, and that threshold is guarded by resistance. Resistance will whisper to you that you are not ready, that you are not skilled enough, that you will fail. It will lure you with distractions, with trivial tasks that seem urgent but mean nothing. Understand this. Resistance is the shadow of creation. It appears precisely because something powerful is trying to be born through you. If you did not have genius within you, resistance would not care. The presence of resistance is proof that your soul is attempting to awaken. Do not fight resistance directly. Instead, acknowledge it, thank it even, and then walk past it. Sit down to create even when you feel uninspired. Begin even when the voice of doubt is loud. Once you cross that threshold, the energy begins to flow. Creativity requires not only courage but trust. Trust that what emerges from within you has meaning, even if you cannot yet see it. Trust that the unconscious knows what it is doing, even when the rational mind cannot explain it. There will be times when what you create feels messy, incoherent, or incomplete. Do not rush to judge it. Creation is like the unfolding of a dream. You cannot always see its meaning until later. Sometimes the image or idea that seems strange or chaotic is the seed of something profound. Give it time. Let it grow in the darkness. Before you expose it to the harsh light of critique, the relationship between the conscious and unconscious mind is like a dialogue. Your ego may believe it is the author of your creations, but in truth, it is only the interpreter. The raw material of creativity comes from the depths, from the shadow, the archetypes, the collective unconscious. When you create, you are translating these forces into form. This is why the act of creating often feels mysterious, as if the ideas are coming from somewhere beyond you. In a sense, you are a channel through which the unconscious becomes visible. This is not something to fear, but to honor. It means that when you create, you are in communion with something far greater than yourself. The shadow of genius is madness. And I must speak of this because many fear it. There is a fine line between the visionary and the madman, between the artist who dives into the unconscious and the one who drowns in it. This is why balance is essential. You cannot live entirely in the depths. You must have one foot in the world of form and reason, and one foot in the mystery. Creativity is a dance between these two realms. If you go too far into chaos without grounding yourself, you risk being consumed by it. But if you remain only in the rational world, you will never touch the true fire of creation. The key is to move between the two, to descend into the depths and then return, bringing back the treasures you find. I recall a sculptor who once told me that every piece of marble already contained the form of the statue within it, and that his task was simply to remove what did not belong. This is a perfect metaphor for creativity. The ideas, the images, the stories, they already exist within you, deep in the unconscious. Your task is not to invent them, but to reveal them, to carve away the layers of fear, doubt, and expectation until the true form emerges. This requires patience. It requires listening. It requires the willingness to be guided by something you cannot fully see. You may wonder how to connect with this inner guidance. The answer is to cultivate presence. When you create, be fully there. Do not create while worrying about how your work will be received or whether it will be good enough. These thoughts belong to the ego, and they will only block the flow of creativity. Instead, sink into the process. Feel the brush in your hand, the words forming on the page, the sound of the notes as they rise in the air. Be there in that moment, with no agenda, but to let the inner voice speak. When you create from presence, you are not just making art, you are becoming art. You are embodying the creative force itself. I have often said that what you resist persists, and this is as true in creativity as it is in life. When you resist the darker parts of your psyche, when you try to suppress the emotions or images that frighten you, they only grow stronger. But when you face them, when you invite them into the creative process, they transform. This is the alchemy of art. A painter may take their rage and turn it into a storm of colors on the canvas. A writer may take their sorrow and turn it into words that heal others. A musician may take their longing and turn it into a melody that speaks to the soul. Your genius is not found in avoiding your emotions, but in using them as fuel. Let us return for a moment to the concept of archetypes, for they are the deep structures of creativity. The archetype of the creator is one you must embody, but there are others that guide the process. The trickster, for instance, brings humor, shows, and unexpected insight. Sometimes your genius will come not through serious contemplation, but through play, through breaking the rules, through allowing the absurd to surface. The hero gives you the courage to face the unknown, to persist even when the path is dark. The sage brings wisdom, helping you to see the patterns and truths beneath the surface. All these archetypes live within you, and each has something to offer your creative journey. Dreams are often where these archetypes reveal themselves. A dream may show you a wise old man who offers you a key, that is a sage speaking. Another dream may show you a wild animal, untamed and fierce. That is your raw instinct, your primal creative energy. Do not dismiss these figures. Engage with them. Ask them what they want from you. You may be surprised at the answers you receive. The unconscious is alive, and it speaks to you in the language of symbols. When you listen to it, your creativity becomes not just a personal act, but a dialogue with something infinite. Creativity is also an act of rebellion. The world will try to mold you, to make you conform to its expectations. But genius cannot be contained by convention. It thrives in the spaces where you dare to break the rules, where you challenge what is accepted, where you speak a truth that others are afraid to hear. This does not mean creating for the sake of shock or rebellion alone. It means being true to the vision that rises within you. Even if it defies the norms, every great creator has faced resistance from the world. But they persisted because they knew that their vision was not just theirs, it belonged to something greater. I tell you this because you must understand that the path of creativity is not always easy. It will test you It will confront you with your own limitations, your own fears. But it will also free you. When you create, you are not just making art, you are liberating your soul. You are allowing the deepest parts of yourself to breathe. You are touching something eternal, something that will outlast you. And in that act, you find not only your genius, but your meaning. There comes a moment, if you stay true to this path, when you will feel the flow of something that does not belong to you alone, but to the universe itself. It is as though the boundaries between self and world dissolve, and you are no longer the one creating, but the one being created through. This is not fantasy. It is the reality of what I have called the self, the greater whole of which your ego is but one fragment. When the self moves through you, you become a vessel for a creative intelligence that is timeless and infinite. Every word, every brushstroke, every sound becomes a thread in the tapestry of existence. You will feel as though you are remembering something ancient, something that was always there, waiting for you to open. But I must warn you, this is also the moment where the temptation of perfection arises. You may feel the weight of what you have been given and want to shape it into something flawless and something the world will celebrate. Perfection is the enemy of creation. It freezes you. It silences the wild voice of the soul. Remember this. Your task is not to create something perfect, but to create something true. Truth has rough edges. Truth is not always beautiful in the conventional sense, but it carries a power that perfection cannot match. When you create with truth, you ignite not only your inner genius, but also the hearts of those who encounter your work. The world does not need more polished masks. It needs real voices, real visions, real souls willing to show themselves. This is why your inner genius cannot be awakened by imitation. You may learn from others, be inspired by them, but your genius is your own. It speaks a language that no one else can fully translate. If you try to copy, to please, to follow the crowd, you will smother that voice. Listen inward. The unconscious is always whispering to you, offering images, symbols, fragments of dreams. Capture them, explore them. Do not dismiss them simply because they do not fit what is expected. Genius is born in those moments when you dare to follow the path that no one else sees. There will also be moments of despair, when you feel that the well of creativity has run dry, when everything you create seems meaningless or empty. Do not be deceived by these moments. The well is never truly dry. It is simply that you have lost touch with it. When this happens, return to the roots, walk in nature, listen to music that moves you. Read the myths and stories that speak to the archetypes in your soul. Pay attention to your dreams again. The unconscious will always give you something if you are willing to receive it. Sometimes the creative fire lies dormant, waiting for you to step back, to rest, to allow life itself to fill you with new impressions and new symbols. Creation is not a linear process. It is cyclical. It has seasons of fire and seasons of silence. Respect these rhythms. When the fire is there, work with it passionately. Pour yourself into the act of creation. When the silence comes, Do not panic. Use that time to observe, to listen, to prepare the ground for the next spark. The inner genius is like a seed. It cannot bloom every day, but it is always alive beneath the soil, gathering strength, waiting for the right moment to emerge. I want to leave you with an understanding of the sacred nature of what you carry within. Creativity is not merely a talent or a skill, it is a bridge between the finite and the infinite. When you create, you are bringing forth something that did not exist before, something that can touch the hearts and souls of others. This is no small thing. It is an act of courage and of love. Even if no one ever sees your work, the act of creating changes you. It shapes you into someone more whole, more alive, more connected to the mystery of existence. So, what does it mean to ignite your inner creative genius? It means to step into the unknown and trust it. It means to face your shadow and reclaim the power you have buried there. It means to listen to your dreams and follow the symbols they reveal. It means to play, to experiment, to allow yourself to be foolish and raw. It means to honor the cycles of creation, to create from love, and to surrender to the greater self that wants to move through you. This path is not easy, but it is the only one that leads to true meaning. When you feel the fire rise in, you do not hesitate. When you see an image in your mind that you cannot explain, do not ignore it. When you feel the urge to write, to sing, to paint, to build, do not wait for permission. Act, create, let your inner genius breathe. The world may not always understand, but that does not matter. What matters is that you have honored the call of your soul. Remember, there is a creative force that runs through all things. It is the same force that shapes the clouds, that carves the rivers, that spins the galaxies in the night sky. You are not separate from this force. You are part of it. When you create, you align yourself with the very heartbeat of the cosmos. That is why it feels so profound, why it fills you with a sense of purpose and wonder. Your inner creative genius is simply your unique expression of this universal force. It is the divine spark within you, and it is waiting for you to set it ablaze. I have seen many people at the threshold of their own greatness, too afraid to take the final step. Do not be one of them. The fire of genius is not meant to be hoarded, it is meant to be shared. Whatever it is you are called to create, create it. Do not delay. There is no better moment than now. Every day you wait, the voice of the unconscious becomes quieter, harder to hear. But when you act, when you bring forth what is within you, that voice grows stronger, clearer, until it becomes the guiding light of your life. So I say to you, listen. Listen to the whispers in your dreams, to the images that haunt you, to the symbols that appear in your quiet moments. They are not random, they are messages from the depths of your soul. Follow them. Let them lead you where reason cannot go. Trust the mystery. Trust the fire. Trust the genius that lives within you. For when you do, you will not only ignite your inner creative genius, you will awaken to the fullness of who you truly are.